All right, hey, thanks for tuning in today. I am still working on dry flies. Today we're going to tie an olive, getting ready for that. It's going to be a parachute. If you checked out my video last week, the 10 tips, you know that one of the suggestions that I give to people who are just getting into fly tying is to really focus on mastering patterns. And what I'm working on now is parachutes. That is the style of fly that I'm really working on mastering. You can do a lot of different patterns within that style, but this is going to be a parachute style. So I'm going to add a strand of polypropylene yarn here in white, and I'm going to really tighten that down to start to form my post. I'm going to get some thread underneath there, and then I'm also going to be eventually using that as a shuck. So one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that polypro. This is a trick that I've learned just watching some videos of how to do this, but if you twist the polypro, you can make like a little rope out of it, and then when you twist it down, it kind of, see how it turns like that? You make it into that little rope, and that really helps you to get a sturdy post. So I'm going to tighten that in there. I'm going to come back and all right, I'm going to turn my vise because I want to clean all of this up now. I'm just going to get any of those extra strands, extra fibers out of there in front. I'm going to use the back part as a shuck, so that's going to stay. But for now, I'm going to just kind of cover that up with my thread. You can see, and what I like about parachutes, what I think are cool about parachutes are when you tie them, you're like building a frame, almost like building a skeleton. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start up the post, and you'll start to see what I mean. Now, one of the things I can tell you to do as well, you want to make sure as you're tying parachutes, I like to keep my bobbin spinning clockwise. I like to keep my thread really corded up because I don't want it to flatten out, because then it can trap these individual fibers and it definitely doesn't hold as well. So I like to make sure I'm really using a corded up thread, but right now I'm building my post, and I'm going to come back down, and I'm going to finish this out. I'm going to keep this polypro here, and I'm going to wrap it really tightly. So I'm just going to do touching turns down the shank of the hook. Just take my time, try to get it all covered up, and this is going to form my eventual body of the fly. It's going to actually be a thread-bodied fly. We're going to have some dubbing up by the post to help it float a little bit and to give it a little bit of a profile. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the shank of the hook, the polypro, and this thread to form the body of the fly. And I'm going to use this little bit here as a shuck, so I'm going to come down underneath, do another turn, and then all right, so we're just going to cut that real short. I just want a tiny little shuck at the bottom of the fly, the tail of the fly. So keeping it nice and thin. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a black Sharpie, and I'm going to use the same trick I do on some Perdigons, where you color the thread. You don't have to change your thread. Some people change your thread out. You don't have to waste time doing that. You just use a Sharpie, make your green thread black, and then you're going to wrap that up, and you're going to give this fly a little bit of segmentation, just for some realism. So you're going to go up, stop right up there, and just give it a nice segmented look. Then I'm going to take my bodkin with some UV resin, and I'm going to coat the body with that. And I like to use the UV resin even on the post, because it makes the post really sturdy. It makes it nice to tie that hackle in later when you do that. So I'm going to make sure that's coated really well, nice and even. All right, and then I'm going to hit it with my UV torch, make sure it's all cured. And that just gives the fly a really thin profile, really thin, lifelike, very realistic profile, because this part is what the trout are going to see down, like in the film, just below the film, and then the rest of the fly sits up on the surface, kind of an emergent pattern, just like the clink hammer video that I did about 2 weeks ago. So today I'm going to use I got a nice bunch of saddle hackle here, nice neck or cape, I guess, that I just purchased, and it is, what color is it? Golden Badger. You can use really a dun color would be great here. Grizzly would work fine. I don't get too worried about the hackle color, but I like this. I like the length of this. It makes it really easy to work with. So at the bottom of your hackle, you've got this webby stuff. You want to just pull that off. So I'm just going to get rid of that webby stuff. Give myself plenty of stem to work with. All right, that looks pretty good. So keeping this is the shiny side, and then this is the dull side of the feather. I want the dull side to be pointing toward me as I tie this in. So I'm going to lay this across, and I'm going to tie it in at the front, in front of the post. I'm going to start by tying it in at the front of the post, just to lock it in there. I'll come back up, and this will all get covered with dubbing. And then I'm going to come here, and I'm going to tie the hackle up the post. Really get it secured in there, and then come back down, and then I'm going to rest my bobbin right behind. So now this stem, a lot of times it'll just break off. If it doesn't want to break off, then just go in with your scissors and snip it out of there. There you go. All right, so that's in, that's ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some super fine dry fly dubbing. This is in olive, and we're going to dub a really thin noodle. So just bear with me here while I do this. It takes a little bit of time. I'm not going to edit this because I want you to see how much time it really takes. A lot of my videos I'll edit this part out because it's kind of boring, but one of the things I've learned about dubbing is, you know, you just got to use it a little bit at a time. As people who are new to tying, they tend to want to just glob the dubbing on there. You know, I've been tying for years and I still catch myself doing it sometimes, especially if I'm in a hurry. And this super fine stuff is nice to work with, but you know, if you just pinched a tiny little bit and get some pressure on it, you can make a really nice even noodle. So I want this to be a long noodle because I want to make sure I have enough to go around. I don't want to have to add more, but I want to keep it nice and thin. So it takes a little bit of time, so I apologize. I know it's not real exciting watching me dub, but I want to give you an idea of, you know, take your time with this part. Don't rush it. Okay, I'm going to tighten my thread up here, and then the first move I'm going to make here is I'm going to wrap in front, and then I'm going to wrap in back, and I'm going to continue that pattern. up and back. I'm going to do another one in back just to even it out a little bit there. And then I'm going to wrap it around, and I want to rest my thread here. So I've got a nice dubbing, nice ball of dubbing there that's going to keep this fly buoyant. It's going to give the fly a little bit of a profile, so you've got that thorax in there. And then I'm going to start the next part, which is wrapping my hackle. Now you can start and do that up here. What I prefer to do is I like to turn the fly a little bit like that because I feel like it gives me a better angle. Now I can actually take the fly and I try to put like a crease in the stem, and that way it helps me to get it wrapped around. And if I do it right, which it looks like I have, the hackle will actually, the dull side is facing up, and that's actually what you want, because you want the hackle to point upwards. That way when it lands a little softer, and then you're just getting the dubbed body in the fish's view. So that actually is perfect. That's the way that I want it. So if I don't goof it up here, I'm going to come around. I'm going to try to not trap in any hackle fibers. Tie that in, going around, and then I'm going to snip out my hackle. Just want to make sure I didn't trap anything in there. It looks pretty good. Okay, so some people at this point will just dab some super glue on the thread and wrap it and hold it, and they claim that works really well. I just prefer to use a whip finish. So I'm gonna make sure my thread is not flat at all. I want it corded up. I don't want a flat thread in there. I want a nice corded thread. And I'm gonna do a whip finish. So I'm gonna just come around once, twice, 3 times. Try to not catch any hackle fibers in there. All right, so then I'm gonna snip that out. Fly back this way. Sorry for my hand blocking there. And then the last step is just trimming up the post. So I'm going to come at it like this, an upward angle like this, and an downward angle like that, just to give it the appearance maybe of a wing. And there you go. Not too shabby. Whoop. Not too bad. This is a parachute style. Again, you can, once you've got this style mastered, you can do all kinds of colors, different hackle colors, different body colors. You can use different materials for the post. I've seen all kind of materials used for the post. But you know, this is what I'm working on right now. This is what I'm trying to master, so that I can replicate parachutes in a number of different patterns that I want to try to match the hatch. So if I want to do this in a Marty Brown, if I want to do it in an Olive, if I want to do it in a Hendrickson, if I want to do it in a light Cahill, I can make this same fly match whatever hatch it is that I'm trying to do. But it's taken a while to kind of master that, and I wanted to share that with you guys today because that's where I am in my fly tying journey right now. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Check out troutstrike.com, subscribe to the channel, and as always, it's time to step away from the vise, get out on the water.